Hey, how's it going, everybody? So this is a video just going over and describing auto actions here in Manga Studio 5 or Clip Studio Paint as it's called now. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for checking this out and being interested. This here is a great compendium to Freddie Williams' The DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawn Comics. Freddie's actually reached out. We've been talking a bit, and what we wanted to do is, if you're a Photoshop user, you can head on over to Freddie's site right now, and you can pick up the actions that you can use in Photoshop that work with that book and all that cool stuff. You guys been following my channel. You guys know how this works, and if you don't, hopefully this will be a little interesting for you. Okay. However, since not all of us, some of us anyway, we've moved over to a different software, this one right here, and a lot of the workflow that we liked in Photoshop, we want to also include here in Clip Studio. But maybe you don't have it, or you're not even aware of this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys basically exactly for what I could duplicate anyway from Freddie Williams' action pack from Photoshop into Clip Studio and all that good stuff. If you guys wanted to check the description bar below, there's also timestamps so you can jump around. So you can just check this out at your leisure. Again, thank you so much. We're going to jump into it. I'm going to sort of just go over this with you. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to get your auto actions if you've downloaded them. And how to install them, and then what they do. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit more hands-on with this. There's not too much scripted stuff going on here. You guys know how this channel is. We just do this stuff raw. And then lastly, I'm also going to show you how to speed up your auto actions as well with F keys and other shortcuts and stuff. Okay, so first and foremost, the layout you see on the screen, this is my workspace here. I'm left-handed, so I need a lot of open space on the left, but this auto action window is what the main focus of today is going to be. Normally I have it over here with my layers and stuff, but for today I have it over here right in the open so you guys can see it. If you don't have yours open or you don't know where it is, just go up to window right here, and near the bottom here, auto action, just click that. Whoops. Click that and it'll pop up. Okay, now if you've never used auto actions, you're probably going to have like this default stuff here. So what we're going to do is this little arrow right at the top here, you just click that. Okay, and we're going to go import, and what you're going to want to do is wherever your download, if you downloaded this anyway, if it's on your downloads or if it's in your documents, wherever it is, that's where you're going to want to go for this. Okay, now you're going to notice there's two kinds of action packs here. Okay, now the reason for this is Clip Studio Paint. What I've tried to do anyway is, at least the audience that watches my stuff, we get two kinds of people here. There's some people that work at 300 DPI, which is the normal, and then there's some other, I don't want to say advanced users, but some people have a better PC than others, and they like to work at high resolutions. Myself, when I'm doing black and white, I like 600 DPI. So I have the two options here. I would recommend opening which one you prefer. Like if you're working in a higher DPI, definitely install this one. You can do them both, play around. They're similar. It's just some of the settings you're going to see when we get in here, like brush size and stuff like that, that kind of are pretty important here. Okay, so I'm going to just start with the default 300 DPI. Okay, that way we're all on the same page here. And you're going to see, boom, all this is populated. And again, 300 DPI for this, just so you guys can understand. It's only for a couple of things, to be honest with you. Some of it, it's all good. Okay, so let's get into it. I've copied as well all of Freddie, what he did in his Photoshop video is he kind of labeled these as well. Okay, uni means universal. Use this at any stage during the process. Wire for wireframes, and inks. Those are really the main ones that only actually matter here. Okay, so the first one we're going to jump into is making a new layer. Okay, so I'm going to show you here. If you don't have these set up to shortcut keys just yet, this comes with a nifty play button that you can press, and if you check over here, we've got a layer, right? We just click play and it makes a new layer. As simple as that. Okay, it makes a grayscale layer as well, I should note. In case you were coloring, you might want to adjust that to color. Okay, but it'll always default to gray. Now, yes, you could totally go down here, and it's a little off screen, but you can click the make a new layer button. That's not a big deal. However, I'm telling you guys from experience anyway, when you have stuff on your keyboard, it's awesome. You can just press a button. I believe mine's right here. You'll see, look, I'm just making new layers with a press of a button. So you can be drawing and just making new layers. And the reason why that's important, or can be important anyway, is if you are, in the moment and you just want to be drawing. You don't want to have to necessarily look around for UI elements and stuff. And a little bit of seconds pays off over the length of you working digitally. Okay, so a couple seconds here could equal hours years from now. Okay, so it might not sound like much now, but it's a fun little tool to have in there. Okay, now the next one here is a white adjustment layer. Now this layer, in the DC Comics guide, Freddy has an action here that sort of basically converts the line art to blue, which is something that's really great to draw over. However, in Clip Studio Paint, it's a little bit different. So unfortunately, I didn't make it your line art turn to blue. It just sort of puts a transparency layer over top of it. So let's see what we're kind of talking about here. Okay, so I'll just put, here, we'll get a nice big fat brush. Let's go Joey with some weird hair, right? So when we go over here to white adjustment layer, we're going to click play. Now, if you look over here, this is what happened, okay? So this right here, layer 1, this is one we've been drawing on. We made a new layer that's basically just a flood-filled white layer, okay? And I lowered the transparency, you can see right here, and then it makes a brand new layer so you can keep drawing instantly without skipping a beat, right? And what it does is the more we refine this stuff, now Joey's looking super scared, right? We keep playing this, and if you'll notice over here, it's sort of like you're adding, kind of like tracing paper over top, or light boxing if you're accustomed to that, okay? And you could totally go in here as well. I just want to back this up so you can kind of see what's going on. Maybe you also want to turn the color layer on here. Over here, layer property, the effect. If you click layer color, you click that, it'll turn it. You can see mine's red. It defaults to blue. But this is why Clip Studio, I couldn't do this, because Clip Studio has it sort of built in with this. However, regardless, having this additional layer over here that we can, like scribble, try to figure out designs. We've got like a big old muscular arm or something, we're drawing, doing all that stuff, and you're just trying to figure out, where stuff's going, and you can quickly just click this button, and you see what I'm saying? You can just start, tightening up your designs and stuff like that. So it's super important, and it's a great tool to have in your arsenal. So next up, we have non-photo blue for print. Now this one is actually for all of my, Freddy calls them the hybrid method or the hybrid workflow. Again, what this does is, let's just assume here's a comic page, right? And you're drawing this and you want to print this out. Looks like a happy page. You want to print this out on your printer, your color printer, so that you can actually start inking traditionally or even penciling traditionally, right? So you can see all you do, it's easy. You just click this button, and what it's going to do is it makes a bunch of layers. You don't have to worry about anything. It's a cyan, like a very light cyan color, and you can print this out and you're ready to go. It's basically a non-photo blue is what you're looking at. That's, I guess, the lingo we like to use. And what that means is when you, this is mostly for Photoshop, you can do it in here, but when you scan your artwork, once it's been inked over top or penciled, once you scan it back in, you can remove the blue and you're left with nice clean black lines. Okay, so this is just, it's literally just a button you can press, which is awesome. And you get your roughs all done, whatever you like to do. Press that button, print it out, and you're good to go. So this one here is actually pretty interesting. This one right here. This one's called beefing up line weight. Okay. Now, again, let's go with Joey. You know what? You know what we're gonna do with Joey here? I'm gonna duplicate Joey. That way we can always go back to him, because I feel like we're going to be using a lot of Joey today. All right, so we've got our layer here, and what this does is it just beefs up your line weight. So I'm gonna click play. You're gonna watch what happens. And I don't know if you noticed that. Did you notice it? I'm going to keep pressing play and see if you notice what's happening here. Do you see how the line art is getting thicker and thicker just by pressing this button? Now, if I zoom in, just so you can see, it does get a little blurry, but that's okay. We can always get rid of that once we change this to a bitmap, once we get it sent to a a colorist or whatever. That's all good. The whole reason here, let me just open up again what we started with, just so you guys can kind of see the difference, right? This is what we started with. And the main difference here, or the reason why you might be doing something like this, is if you draw something maybe too big and you need to scale it down, right? So again, this would be an example. So if we've got, again, good old Joey. Let's duplicate that there. I'm gonna move it over. So let's just say I need to shrink him down, right? And when we shrink him down, look what happens. His lines get real thin, and they don't look right. So if you just run this action here, right? Check it out. It's starting to get thicker and it's starting to look similar. And you can press it a couple times and eventually it'll get very close, if not identical to what you need. And that's great because some people, what you'll do is you'll take a drawing, let's say, you know, a superhero jumping off of a building from page 1 of book whatever, and you want to have a similar pose in a future issue. You just take that, bring it in and adjust it. And sometimes you just run a path or one of these auto actions like that and it corrects the line art and you're good to go. Now, the next one is actually very similar. So I'm going to also just duplicate that as well. Okay. So this one is called thin the line weight. Okay. Now, let me give you an example of this one. So what this one might do is, let's say we're, instead of shrinking it, we're expanding it. You know, we're making it big. Now, right away you can see, okay, well, that line art just got a lot thicker, right? Because it's raster and we're expanding it and stuff. All you do is you go to thin line weight, whoops, and you press play. And check it out. It's doing the exact same thing. It's reducing the line quality. Okay? And if you go too far, it can get pretty, you know, pretty gross. So just keep an eye on what you're doing, right? And you can get it very similar, very close to your initial line art just by running that, and that's great. Okay, and this is these two things right here, I'll be honest with you guys, have been a tremendous help for me personally. Whenever I am making a design that, like, you know, you're kind of noodling in an area and then eventually you just need to like break it out a little bit, okay? Or you're noodling and then you start doing the Control T, you know, transform, and you're moving a gun around or a fist or something, and the line just gets jankier, you know, it gets thicker or thinner. You just run one of these, bang, it's done. Okay, next up we have eliminate white pixels. So this is actually good for two things right off the top. One, if you'd like to color your line art, and I'll show you that as well. The other one is if you want to get this prepared to color underneath. So if you're to send to a colorist, or if you were perhaps going to color it. Now, what's really cool about this as well is this doesn't really matter if you created the piece digitally or if you scanned in something that you did with like pen and ink, and possibly pencil as well. So what I've done here, this is a much older drawing that I have done, but it'll work perfectly for this example, okay? So imagine, you can actually see, if we zoom in here, you can see all my little pencil strokes and stuff, that I had in there, and then the inking I put over top. So if you look over here on our layers, this is pretty much how it would come in if we had just scanned this from a scanner. Or some of you like to take pictures with your phone, it'll work the exact same way as well, okay? So we have the file in there. Now, all you need to do is select that layer, and we're going to go over here and just eliminate white pixels, click play, and check out what happens. You're going to see, like, it looks like there's this checker pattern in the background. That's to let you know that things are transparent. There is no background. We basically just eliminated anything that's white. Now, why that's great is for us comic book artists, particularly black and white artists that maybe do illustration as well, this separates the stuff from your background. So if you scanned it, it almost removes the line art from the paper itself, if you can kind of think about it that way. It's really not too complicated, but you'll kind of see how this kind of works. So what we can do is, if you just make a brand new layer, right, and you move that layer underneath of your line art, what we're going to do is actually make that piece of paper again. So if we select white, you can just go up to Edit Fill, if you'd like, and check it out. Now we have a white piece of paper. Now why that's good? Because the first thing, like I said, if we went back to the line art that we just pulled away originally, and you go up right here to, which one is it here? Right here. Lock Transparent Pixels. It's the fourth one on the right. If you click that, what it's going to do is, I can't draw outside or color outside of the black line art we just pulled from. What we can do from that, though, is, like, let's say we wanted to go like a blue color. We can go Edit Fill again if you wanted. And this is really good for people that like to do, maybe, I don't know if it's like cartooning, but like a style that black line art might be too harsh for what you're doing. This works great for like special effects. So if you got a superhero shooting lasers, like let's say Superman shooting eye lasers, having black lines can kind of look a little weird. But by doing this method, and it's really quick, you can actually separate the lines so you can still have black, but you can also go, like, let's just say I want Batman to have, in this case here, red eyes, right? Do you see what's happening? You can just color the line art. I'm going a little quick for you guys, but you can kind of see how you can get some range with this sort of stuff, and it helps actually, if not you, the colorist down the road. Now, the other thing that this lets you do is, let's just go back to black like we had, right? Everything's locked. Is this layer underneath? If I make a new layer, this might be where colorists especially, you guys can kind of jump in and get a head start here. So let's say we were coloring Batman or whatever, right? Now, when I color, it'll be underneath of the line art. Do you see what's happening there? Okay, and I'll just, quickly just do this here. And that's how that works. That's a quick way of doing it. Some people, what they'll do with this line, your line art, they'll just set it to multiply, and that's great. That does work. But what I've just shown you, the additional benefit of that is that it allows you to color the line art itself, and you don't have to rely on multiply. Very powerful thing, and especially for colorists or you guys, you just want to, like I say, maybe you'd like to color your line art just a little differently. Great little tool to have. The next one here, this one mixed with this one is the second most requested thing I find right here. So it's called the knockout or KO layer plus contour layer. Now where this differs from Freddy's, at least the way I like to work with it, is I put sort of like a blending mode. That's what it's called in Photoshop. Here it's called an effect. I like to put that on the contour layer so that I can adjust the contour once I get ready to ink, right? I believe the action that Freddy uses in Photoshop just makes the white knockout layer, and that's fine. But I sort of added an extra step, and I'll show you how you can turn it on and off if you don't like it or whatever, okay? So I'm going to draw two Joeys here, okay, and give you an example of what the hell is the point here. So let's just move this one over here. So if we're working on this one, what you need to do is make sure your line art is closed, okay? So if you look at Joey, right here you can see it's open, so I'm going to close that. Now the reason is because when we click, you have to get your magic wand tool, make sure it's on the right one that you want, whether it's a current layer, all layers, reference layer, whatever you want. He's only on one layer, so I'm going to click one layer. So we're going to click it and watch what happens, okay? So we get the marquee around here. All we're doing is you go over here to knockout layer and contour, hit play, and you're going to see nothing really looked like it happened. But over on the right, we made a new layer called KO plus contour plus this layer. So if we turn this layer off, you can see this is weird. This is what the KO and contour layer's on, right? And this is our line art. So what I've done is I've made a separate layer so that our line art is always intact. You know, you can always get back and adjust it. Same with your contour layer, okay? Now check this out. With the contour layer and the KO, right up here where it says effect, right down here is what you want. Thickness of edges. Check this out. You can keep clicking whatever you want, and look at how thick the line art's getting, the contour layer, okay? Now this is awesome for a bunch of reasons. I hope some of you understand. And if you don't want it, you can just click this right here, border effect, and it turns it off, and it's just line art with white. Now, why white? Why even doing anything, right? I'll show you. So if we select these two layers, our line art layer and our KO layer, and make sure it's above other line art, when we move it, check it out. He's basically moving in front. Now this is great when you're staging your comic, when you want characters in front of other characters, all that stuff. If we want to turn the effect off there, so we don't get the contour, but we still get that white KO layer, right? Again, if you're going to start doing any kind of coloring, it works great. Let's just put it under so you can see. That's it. And this is a great tool. I do this all the time. I'm sure you guys know if you guys have been following my channel, all that stuff, but if you haven't, this will definitely help you out, okay? Now, this next one, I'm going to do the shoelaces, actually, okay? Because the shoelaces seem to always give the better example. So this one here is called convert wires and seams. That's what Freddy called it. Basically, what I kind of think of it as is you make a shape, and it turns that shape into line art. Okay, so what does that mean? So think of, we're going to draw some shoelaces here real quick. Okay, so I'm going to get a big fat brush, and we're going to draw, bang. Okay, this is where the shoelaces go through those holes. Okay, we'll do 5, no problem. All right. Now with that layer selected, we're going to go convert wires to seam. Bang. We're going to get that. Okay, we're going to make a new layer, and we're going to draw the laces now. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to do the same thing. Then we're going to make a new layer. Do you see what's happening here? This is why I tried to upsell this upsell this thing in the beginning of why this is the most requested thing, because how long did that take? That took no time at all. Okay? Now, that's awesome. That's super important. Basically what you can do here as well, right? Because we've got each layer here that we just did those shapes. You can manipulate it whatever you want. You can put this up in the front, whatever you like, right? So let's go into this just a little bit, just to kind of understand what's happening. Okay, so think of it this way. All right, when we're drawing, right, when we're drawing whatever, let's just say a tube or something. Okay, when we're drawing a tube, we're drawing the line work. Okay, everything you see outside of it. What this tool does is it allows you make a brand new layer. Always remember that. Whatever you're going to run this action on, make a new layer, okay? So what we're going to do is make, you know, the width of the line as close as we can. Kind of like that, right? Think of it that way. Whatever you're drawing, eventually you're going to turn the outside of that black shape into line art, okay? So we're going to click that, and we're going to click play, right? And there we go. You can make another layer on top, or you can just draw right on, right? And it's not perfect, but it's similar. It's different, but it's similar, right? Now, the reason why that's important, okay, is because you can do all kinds of things with this stuff, okay? You can do, I always like to do, I think it's the Spider-Man webbing, right? Just do super quick and go like that, make a new layer, and you can always work in black if you like, right? We'll make another one. Maybe we won't go as crazy, right? And then we're just gonna run this little action here, okay? Just so you can see it. So click play, awesome. Go down to this next one, click play. Go to the last one, click play, and there you go. You kind of have like it's a start, right? And it doesn't take that much time really at all. And you can move stuff around, you can kind of adjust it, all that sort of all sorts of stuff. You can do anything with this. You can do, let's say you want to make like some grass or something, you know, like these little like weed kind of plant kind of things, right? You just click play and bang, you're getting line art, and then you can go over top, and you can kind of like dress it up. Okay, so this is why this one's always the most recommended, because it seems like it saves you so much time. You can do let's say you want to do like Batman's utility belts. Think of it, if you guys remember us drawing with silhouettes, which is to say just like the outside shape of something, right? So that we'll click play, and I'm going to turn it into like a little pocket thing that would be on, like, I don't know, Batman's utility belt or something. You see what I'm saying? Like how quick that kind of is, instead of always drawing everything line art only. Okay, it's super important, super great. The additional benefit as well, just to let you guys know, is when you're doing that, because we just did this with the shoelaces, I want to show you. It will also put that white contour layer around it as well. Okay, so you can see what's happening. You can put it over things, and it's a super powerful thing. Honestly, this one mixed with the KO layer and contour layer are my two most used, besides make new layer. They're my most used tool in this entire thing, and I hope you guys get a lot of value and range out of that as well. Okay, so I hope I was clear on how that one worked. Moving on, we're going to go into temp group done. Now this one here, so I'm just going to click play so you can see it. Click right here, okay? So we click play. All it's doing is it's making a folder called done, all right? And the point of that is, if you ever, or at least what Freddie explains, let's say you're drawing, I don't know, we're just going to do really lame people here, okay? So we got one guy here, you know, another lady over here, something like that. It's a group shot, you know? So what Freddie likes to do, or at least what he talks about, is what he'll do is, let's just say those characters are done. So what he'll do is he'll take this and he'll just move it into this folder, and it automatically lowers the transparency. What this does is it allows you to quickly look and see who still needs to be drawn. Okay, so if they're faded in the background, they're done. You can just keep, all you have to worry about are these two people. So you go in there, you know, and maybe it's like, okay, I need that, and we need like some sort of like superhero symbol on this guy, whatever, right? There we go. He's got there, and he's got like a big old cape, and that's my finished line art. Let's just assume, okay? So what you do is you take it and you just move it up in here, bang, it's done. So I know that the only thing I have left is this person back here, right? So do the same thing. It's the T team. I don't know who the T team is. Put them in there, and that's it. Once you're done, right? This just it's a way to catalog and house all your finished artwork in a folder until you're ready to keep moving on. Okay. So once you're done, you can just, you know, click, shift, click to wherever you want, and just, you know, hands off your keyboard, just drag it under or out of the folder. Okay, and then they're going to come back. You can click on that folder, you can hit delete, and now, you know, now you go, okay, so now let's just get rid of that. Now I'm ready to, you know, keep going on. So maybe your line work is all done here, and we're going to click our wand tool, right? Like this, and then we're going to go over to our, let's say, KO and contour layer, click play, right? And we're going to beef up his contour layer a little bit. And check it out, right? So like they're done, you know. And I hope that makes sense. I know it might seem like it's an odd thing, but when you start to work in sort of like an assembly line way of thinking with this, it works tremendously, because it's just a quick folder. Instead of you having to go in there, rename it, change settings, it's like making a new layer. All it does is it makes a folder, lowers the transparency, calls it done in air quotes here. You can dump your done line art in there as you're building up a bigger scene. Some people don't need to use it. You know, all it does in reality is just keep things clear, because I'm hoping, well, I know anybody that's doing digital, you've probably worked in layers, and layers can become a hot mess. There's a lot. So it's a simple way to just sort of keep everything nice and tidy. Okay. So this next one, you can see now we're getting into the inks, and we're almost done. So when I click play for inks, what it's going to do is make a layer called inks, and it puts a layer in there called inks, and you're ready to ink. That's all it does. Remember when I said you go back and even the option of just making a new layer seems like it's super quick and super easy. You can press a button, it's already here. You can go layer, new layer, all that stuff. But when you start attaching this stuff to F keys, this stuff just goes quicker. A click of a button will save you hours from years from now. From now until then, just years of time, okay? So it just gets you ready for inks. The second one is expand selection fill with black, okay? So what does that mean? So let's just say we're drawing, I don't know, it doesn't even matter. So we'll draw like a really quick arm, okay? And we get some triceps, all that cool stuff, la 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 la. And what we're gonna do is we're going to make our adjustment layer, and let me just tighten this up ever so slightly. I'm not looking for beautiful artwork here. I just want functioning stuff. Forget the hand, we don't got the time for that. Right? So here we go. So we got our tight line art here, okay? That's what I'm gonna call this. So what we'll do is, if you can think of where you're going to put your shading, it's going to start basically filling it in with black. So let's say that's our line art, right? What we're going to do is, again, go up to here to make our inks layer. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing this just to show you an example of it. So this is where I'm going to consider myself inking now, okay? So what I like to do when I ink is I kind of carve out shapes. And what this action does, this expand selection and fill with black, you're going to see in one moment here, okay? Let me just cut it like that. So grab your wand tool. Okay, make sure it says probably from all layers if you're inking or filling with black. And if you select, you're going to see, you're going to select inside an area, and you're going to fill that area with black. So when we click on this right here, expand selection, fill black, do you see what happened there? It basically did this. Let's just break this down. So you have to have a closed shape, or in Clip Studio as well, you can adjust your settings with your wand tool so things don't always have to be closed. You don't have to have like super tight artwork. That you'll have to do some experimenting on your own for that, but it is possible. Whereas Photoshop, it's very difficult to do that, but Clip Studio you can. So for this example, we have a closed shape. I want to fill that with black. So we're grabbing our wand tool and we're selecting. So instead of going like select, modify, expand, how many pixels, fill with black, you're just pressing a button. So it's going to expand the selection, everything I just said, just by pressing play, and it's going to do that, right? So if you wanted to, like, let's say you had, I don't know, like a checkerboard, just doing this for a quick example, right? You're going to select all the stuff that you want to turn black. Yeah, we'll say that's fine. You just hit that, and it fills in with black. So it's super quick, very quick way to you know, fill in some solid shapes. Great for inking, or you know, maybe you don't like carving stuff out. You just want to start, you know, throwing in black areas. Like let's just say we've got, you know, this guy again, and he's got a giant cape, you know, and you've got your line art, all that cool stuff. Kind of coming in like that, whatever, and you're just like, okay, I want to fill some of this in with some spot blacks. You just click in here, press that, bang, it's done. You can very quickly move through your inks with this way, okay? Now, the very last one here, this one is for all of you people that are working with a colorist, or if you're in some sort of production mindset. I find that with digital artists, you don't necessarily need this, okay? And what it's going to do is just basically makes this a bitmap image, all right? And why that's great is it reduces the file size tremendously. It almost makes it look like a video game, like the old 8-bit kind of stuff. It's literally black and white. There's no shades of gray. Some people, that's why I'm saying some people don't even need this, because you might just draw in bitmap. You might not draw in grayscale anymore, and Clip Studio does a lot of that well. However, some of you work in raster layers like I do, and you might have to send this to somebody else, okay? So that's what this is. So we just go here, and you just click play. And what it's going to do, oops, I apologize. Let's go back. You have to make sure you're at the topmost layer that you want all of this to affect. It can't be in a folder. Clip Studio doesn't handle folders well. I don't know what's up with that, but just click play, okay? And if you notice, let's just zoom in here so you can see. I'm going to turn this on and off, okay? So this is raster artwork right here. You see the little gray pixels in there? When we turn this on, it gets rid of them, so it just turns it into that. And that's why these file sizes get so much smaller, because they don't have gray to worry about. It's just black and white, and those files are super small, okay? So if you want, what you can do is right in here where it looks like black and white squares, you can double click in here, and there's a slider. You can just slide this around, and it'll affect the artwork in whatever way you want. You know, maybe you want it a little bit lighter, like this, you can see it up there. Maybe you want it heavy. It's up to you. You can adjust this however you like. I have it set up for a pretty standard, you know, basically tries to take the artwork you have and make it very similar in threshold, okay? And that's pretty much it. That's the action pack you're looking for. And the last thing I'll show you guys is how do you like even speed this up even more? How do you make it even more actiony? Horrible. So go to File, and you're going to want to go to right here, Shortcut Settings. Click that. You're going to get this weird window popping up. This is where you want to look. You're going to have whatever you have right here like installed. So in your setting area, you might be under Main Menu, Options Tool, all these things. But there's an option on here called Auto Action. Okay. Now look for the one that you have installed. You probably have Action Packs 300, probably 600 as well. Just click this here, and what you're going to do is any like all of these. You don't have to. You know, you can always click play. But some of these things like make a new layer. Excuse me, all of those you can just edit a shortcut. If you need any detailed information, it's right here, settings for shortcut, right there. So for an example, we'll go white adjustment layer, you go edit shortcut, you can press anything you want in there. It'll let you know if that key is already assigned to something else or not. I have a whole bunch already assigned, so I don't want to mess with it, but you could just press like your F key. If you're on a Mac, I'm not sure how that works, but I'm sure you guys are pretty savvy with that. So you click that, you're all good. You'll hit OK, you know, to get out of there, and then you're good to go. One thing that I like to do, I'm just going to show you. There's a different one I have here, just so you guys can kind of see. Feel free to rename these as well. All you need to do to rename it is just click and hold on the layer and let go. Let's try that again. Right, and you can rename it whatever. If you notice, this is what I've done. I've named them F keys so that if I ever do forget what my shortcut was, it's already there in the name. And I've already cut stuff out, like I'm calling one of these KO, new layer, onion skin, massive thumb, you know, like all these things. I have some extra ones here that you guys will never need, just for my webcomic or whatever, right? So feel free to go in there and rename these things, you know, like get rid of the uni wire inks if you like, put an F key, it's a quick reminder that you can do all that stuff and all that cool stuff. So thank you so much for your time. I know this was a little girthy of a video. I didn't really want to do any editing with this. You guys know how we do on this channel. I wanted it to be raw. And I hope you guys got some information of it, or at least for this. And if you're interested, there'll be links in the description to head on over to Freddy's website where you can buy this pack as well. And I appreciate all of your guys' support. Feel free to share the video around if you think it'll help some of your other art buddies. All that stuff. And don't hesitate to ask any questions, or if you're confused, leave questions below. Reach out to me in email, whatever you like. I'll do my best to help you out. Okay? So again, you guys, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.